You're watching TVC Breakfast. Now, weeks after the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Mai Mala Buni, announced February the 26th as the date for the party's national convention, that decision now seems shaky. This is coming after the National Reconciliation Committee of the party received about 47 petitions from its members for the date of the convention to be moved forward. The Reconciliation Committee has also requested for one more week to complete its task of resolving the crisis in different states of the Federation. With just 24 days left, the governing party is yet to formally notify the Independent National Electoral Commission of its national convention. Section 85 of the Electoral Act states that the registered political party shall give INEC at least 21 days notice of any convention or meeting for the purpose of nominating candidates for any of the elective offices specified under the Act. And with just 4 days to INEC's deadline, the possibility of the convention holding on the 26th is now very slim. Right, this is the crux of what we'll be talking about, and joining me in the studio to discuss this is public affairs analyst Daniel Akilami. It's nice to have you join me this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good
Great,
morning.
you're welcome. Great. And shortly we'll have Biodo Shomi join us on set to make sense of all of this as we get along. Now, Daniel, let's start from the issue of, we see, in fact, before we came on air, we're saying that the activities have started now, and we can see a lot of, back and forth, the politics becoming heated up a little bit. The temperature is rising gradually, and we're going to see some of these things. Some people would say, well, these disagreements that we often have are the beauties of democracy, realities of democracy. Others will say, well, these are dangers. Why politicians cannot just agree to move on for the sake of the country. Now, what do you make of this, though?
Well, I think from what is developing now, especially inside APC, we're seeing a peculiar situation that is quite different from what usually precede the elections in the past maybe 10 to 12 years, especially in the era of PDP. Some of these things have evolved at least more robustly. People coming to the round table, consultation happening smoothly, and where they need to have consensus is happening, and where convention are slated, people actually come out to slug it out, to contest and have those offices. But now what is different with APC is the fact that we are seeing a dimension to party administration that is uncommon to this system.
What is uncommon about it?
Yes, where you have a party that is still finding it difficult to build a party structure that can run by itself. Where I'm going is this: look at 2018. Before they had the convention in 2018, it took time. People were waiting endlessly. And at some point, there were even rumors that, a tendency within the party wanted to hijack the structure. Some wanted to reinforce their strength, and they were dodging and dodging and dodging till eventually it got close to the election before we had the Adam Oshomole leadership coming on. Now, the same thing is playing out again now. Unfortunately, this Senator Adamus-led Reconciliation Committee is happening to this convention now. So it's a very tricky issue, especially for Mai Mala Buni committee to decide either to extend this February 26th date or to find a way to accommodate this extension for the reconciliation work. So it's a very tricky one. But beyond this, what we've seen is that APC has not been able to demonstrate the capacity for diverse opinion, diverse interests to coexist within the party structure. Now, just oppose this against the PDP era. PDP has done well in some aspect of making sure that they have the internal mechanism to run the party. When they had convention, they succeeded in having those conventions without bringing the house down, except until 2015. 2014, when some members had to pull out.
Exactly, but some people would say that was like an implosion. But these things were building up, and leaders didn't see them to reconcile enough and to act enough on time until there had to be a pulling out, and that pulling out contributed to the party collapsing and losing the election in 2015.
Exactly. In fact, the interesting thing now is the fact that PDP didn't even show enough signs and symptoms up to what is happening now before they collapse.
Okay, all right.
So APC's own is quite obvious.
All right.
That there are enough acrimonies, and the tendencies are not looking at putting the party above their differences.
All right, we'll come back to this. Let me bring in Biodun Showomi here. Good morning, good to see you. Join me.
Good morning.
You're welcome. Great. Now, from some of the comments that we're hearing, party members and leaders making here and there, they seem to be the umbrella of the old CPC somewhere, the umbrella of the ACN somewhere, and people are still, kind of identifying themselves as us, them within the APC. Do you think this is still part of the problem within the party?
Yes, but it's not uncommon though to expect different factions within a political party. That is not uncommon. It's about power, and when you jostle for power, is not serve a la carte. So people have to carve out their own territories within the same umbrella. What I mean by umbrella is not PDP, within the same APC, with a view to maneuver around the issues. Yes, it's true we have the CPC, ACN factions. We also had the new PDP. There's still some elements of new PDP led by Saraki, Tabual, et al. Then, now within the APC, you still have a small faction of Abgar, that came into APC right within there. Now, what APC is trying to do on his own part is to put his house in order through the Reconciliation Committee. But will that justify postponing the convention? Particularly when you have a caretaker committee led by Buni in power. What does that mean for the governors who have already kicked against it, and the fact that the two of the states which the Reconciliation Committee led by Senator Adamu seems to focus on are almost irreconcilable, and I will tell you exactly the states. Zamfara. Zamfara is a very hot state. I don't know, even the president has tried to visit to resolve it. It's a very difficult one. You also have Kano, where there's a clear division between Gaduje and Chekrau. The courts have intervened, they've sought judicial intervention, and you have the sitting governor, who is also very, very popular in Kano, still maintaining his own position. So how they intend to resolve this, I don't know. And to now use that as a basis to postpone the convention, despite the fact that this same committee had already reported through his own internal initial report that they've resolved most of the major ones, particularly in the...
But we know how strategic Kano, for instance, is. In any political dispensation or political trend, Lagos and Kano are very strategic to, especially when it comes to presidential election. What would it look like going into, not reconciling, and going into the convention divided? Like, for instance, like a state like Kano, for instance, what impact would it have?
No, there's no division in Kano based on what the court said. There has been judicial intervention clearly on which turned out to be in favor of the Shekau faction, and it was over the way and manner the primaries were conducted. The Ganduje conducted consensus, the Chekarau, faction voted, and they approached the court, and the court said, no, he's the one that voted that they are upholding their primaries. So clearly in Kano, there is no division, the way I see it, because of the judicial intervention. That is why I'm saying that cannot be used as part of the reasons, to seek postponement? Are you asking the Shekarau faction to surrender what they want in court?
Shekarau.
The Shekarau faction to surrender what they want in court, or to shine? So for me, Kano is resolved one way or the other through judicial intervention. Yes, I agree, Samfara, but you cannot, because of Samfara alone, say you are not holding the convention at the right time, particularly when candidates are busy consulting and it's becoming clear where the party should go.
All right. Now, Daniel, the point there is, talk to us also from that window. There is the rush to try to reconcile everyone so that going into this convention, everybody's on board, going in the same direction, or going in a direction that would not divide the party. And as it is right now, if all of this different minds and perspectives are not reconciled before the party, what would it look like?
Well, it's still looking like a very difficult time for APC. Like Mr. Shomi said, especially on the case of the Kano, the issue between Shekarau and Ganduje. Unfortunately, Kano will probably be an exception now. Because if you look at the way the national leadership usually handle the state, they normally defer to the state governors to have control in most occasions. So, and this is what has prevailed in this reconciliation now. There are several states that they've deferred to the state governors to have their way.
Because of the influence the governor wields.
So that is where the Kano's case will be far more difficult. In fact, Kano's case is difficult, as much as difficult as the Buni's effort to organize convention. Because it's going to really change the scenario for the party. Because while this is the tradition, if you go around every case, left and right, at the center of it and everything, you exhaust all the issue, everything still land on the table of the governors. They give them upper hand. Because we are going into election, this election year, the governor control the large mass of destruction and the resources in their hand. So you won't want to jeopardize the chances of your party at these different states. So how they will be able to resolve this now? Because if we are talking about on the legal ground, Shekarau faction controls APC in Kano right now. But if you look at the number, resources, and the structure in the hand of Ganduje, which he has held down for almost 6-7 years now. So you have to do something to make sure that you don't lose that state to opposition. But also looking at the convention too. Don't forget that the convention also got a casualty in the past 1 month when the issues were going back and forth. The DG of the Progressive Governors Forum had to resign. And there are circumstances that warranted his resignation because he also put mouth, to join along with those who did not want this convention to be postponed. So now for Buni to come back to that point again, where he will need to make a press statement to tell party members that, fellow APC members, we can't hold this again, it's going to be very difficult. Because the battle he had to face in the past 1 month was enormous. There are tendencies within the party right now that made up their mind there's no postponement. People have started consulting. The aspirants, especially the chairmanship aspirant, they've started spending money, going, touring the country. Alliances are being formed. So how are they going to do this, either to extend by a week or extend by a month now, is going to be very difficult. But I believe whatever the committee, the reconciliation committee, has submitted in the entire report should be adopted first. Yesterday, they ought to have adopted the submitted report according to their schedule. And then maybe tomorrow, they're supposed to inaugurate the state ESCOs. But all those ones now are now
they're hanging.
Because there's even no concrete response to Adamu's request till now. So perhaps I believe they are making consultation. The others are meeting, they are looking at all the chances available. But I believe they should find a way to work with what is available now and move on.
Working with what is available. All right. Now, just for the sake of those who may not be following this development from the beginning, one would ask, what really led to all of this in many of the parties, not necessarily specific, but why are people, members of the political APC, why is there so many division where there has to be, the move, a desperate move to get reconciliation before the convention?
Yeah, you have, power is not server like that. People have to struggle for it. You have former governors in their different states still wanting to remain relevant, hold on to party structures in those states. You have the new governors replacing them, also wanting to hold on to party structures in those states, because it can inform whether you get a second term or not. And you also have people who wants to replace themselves, make sure that their cronies, emerge as governors in 2023. So all these issues, are germane in many of the states. So where you have former governor not still wanting to control the state, you are bound to have a conflict with the incumbent. And that is what we've been seeing playing itself out in different states. Look, it's a fact in Ogun, which nobody can deny that. We have the same situation in Osun, in different states of the Federation. And where, even when you look at Ekiti, the struggle going on in Ekiti is also similar to what we're talking about. So it's certain that there will be conflict. Is how those conflicts are managed. That's the major issue. For me, the Buni-led committee left it a bit too late to the convention to now start reconciliation. I mean, APC needs to evolve its own conflict resolution mechanism, whereby when issues, arise, you don't allow it to fester for too long before now saying you want to resolve it. Don't forget, ego comes in, and then it gets more complicated.
All right. Now, we'll wait to see how the next few days and the next few weeks will play out as we get along right now. Thank you so much, Biodun Shomi, for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Tanala Kinlami, thank you very much for coming.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much. Right.